Welcome to Shatter.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. You ever have one of those mornings where something feels wrong before the world even has a chance to mess it up? That was me. I woke up to silence, the kind that doesn't feel peaceful, just hollow. The air was too still, the sheets too cold, and something under my ribs felt heavy. I told myself it was just the usual: bad sleep, work pressure, too much caffeine. But deep down, something in me already knew. I was sitting at the kitchen table, finishing an email when it happened. A notification popped up in the top corner of my laptop, a synced iMessage from her Apple ID. She must have forgotten to sign out after borrowing it last week. Boarding passes. A contract. Something forgettable. But the message wasn't forgettable. Waiting by the elevator, winking face. From someone saved as Travis, client. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I reread it. Once. Twice. A third time. Waiting by the elevator. The winking face hit harder than any curse word ever could. Confident. Casual. Intimate. I didn't know any Travis. And I knew her clients. She talked about them all the time: account managers, real estate brokers, a few bland marketing types. Never a Travis. Not once. My pulse didn't race. My mind did. She walked in a minute later, all dressed up in that navy blue dress. The one I bought her. The one she usually saved for fundraisers or company galas. Expensive perfume drifted into the room before she even spoke. It wasn't her usual scent. She looked perfect. Hair pinned, heels sharp, makeup heavier than her normal office look. She smiled like it was any other Tuesday. I turned the laptop. Let her see the message. She paused. A blink. Her eyes flicked to mine, and in that split second, I saw it, not confusion. Not anger. Just fear. It lasted less than a heartbeat, but it was real. She covered it fast, smoothed the dress, adjusted a bracelet. "Oh, that's just Travis," she said with a practiced tone. "New client." I mentioned him, didn't I? "We're doing a little birthday dinner thing, super chill. Just a group from work." She made it sound like she was reciting a calendar entry. No warmth. No effort. Just a carefully layered script she'd used before. I said nothing. She sighed like I was the problem. Like silence was an accusation. "If you're gonna start interrogating me again, can we not do this tonight?" I hadn't said a word, but she already knew what I was thinking, and she was preparing to shut it down. 2 weeks earlier, she came home late. Said it was after-work drinks. I asked too many questions. Who was there? Why didn't you say anything? She called me controlling. Told me to stop acting like her dad. Said adults don't need permission. So this time, I just watched. Watched her fasten the necklace I gave her for our anniversary. Listened to the click of the clasp like it was a door shutting between us. Then I said it. Softly. Almost to myself. Stay. No drama. No pleading. Just a simple request. One night. One chance to choose us. To choose me. She looked at me for half a second. Then down at her shoes. Adjusted her earrings. Cleared her throat. "I've earned one evening out." And that was it. She turned. Walked out. Her heels echoed down the hallway. Then the elevator chimed. And just like that, she was gone. I didn't even finish the sentence in my throat. Something like, "Just talk to me." But it didn't matter anymore. She wasn't listening. That night, I didn't rage. I didn't chase. I didn't text. I sat still, coffee cold in my hand, the screen still glowing with that message from Travis. And in the silence, I felt it. Not the betrayal. Not the jealousy. But the grief. Because in that moment, I realized something. I had already lost her. And she wasn't even pretending to fight it anymore. The thing no one tells you is that heartbreak doesn't always come with a scream. Sometimes it just settles, like a fog that rolls in overnight and doesn't leave. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there on our bed, staring at the ceiling, the imprint of her perfume still hanging in the air like a ghost. I didn't cry. I didn't even move. Just listened to the dull hum of the fridge down the hall and the soft creak of a building settling. Her side of the bed stayed untouched. At 3:47 a.m., I got up, walked into the kitchen, and dumped her untouched coffee from that morning. I didn't even know why. Maybe I needed to erase something, anything. By morning, she still wasn't home. She texted me around 11 a.m. "Sorry, crashed at Maya's. Too tired to drive. Love you." 3 lies in a row, dressed up like affection. I didn't respond. Instead, I did the only thing that made sense in that moment. I disappeared, but not in a physical way. I became absent in the places she expected me to show up. No arguments. No explanations. Just quiet. She came home early afternoon, hair done, oversized sunglasses, smoothie in hand like she was coming back from brunch instead of whatever lie she thought I believed. She smiled. Hey, sorry I didn't text sooner. Maya's couch is awful. I looked at her. Really looked. But she didn't notice. She just kept moving like I was part of the furniture. That was the moment I stopped reaching. No more trying to understand. No more second chances tied to my dignity. I started treating her like someone I used to know. And the silence? It grew. She asked if I wanted eggs. I said I was fine. She mentioned a new show she and Maya started watching. I nodded. She kissed me on the cheek. I didn't lean in. She didn't comment on any of it. But I could tell. It registered. Not immediately, but subtly. A half-second longer glance. A pause breath. An expression she couldn't quite mask. The next few days blurred. She came and went, and I let her. She talked, and I listened, but not to her. More like a man waiting for static to turn into music again. It never did. We sat on opposite ends of the couch now. She'd pull out her phone, and I'd read the same paragraph 5 times in a book I wasn't really reading. We'd brush past each other in the hallway, and I'd feel nothing. Not tension, not desire, just vacancy. And she began to feel it. The absence of concern, the missing questions, the space where my attention used to be. She noticed. She didn't say it. Not out loud. But her behavior changed. She wore heels to work on a Wednesday. Lipstick she hadn't touched in months. Sprayed that expensive perfume again, like a battle cry dressed in sweetness. She lingered near me when she didn't need to. Laughed a little louder. Mentioned Travis by name. Once, casually. Then looked at me like she expected a reaction. I gave her nothing. Not because I was playing a game, but because I'd already stepped off the board. The worst part? I didn't hate her. Not yet. I just stopped recognizing her. And I think that realization scared her more than any confrontation ever could. Because I wasn't angry. I was done. And when a man stops fighting for something, it's already gone. By the end of that week, I realized something terrifying. I no longer wanted her to explain. I wanted proof. I wanted the truth, not her version of it, not the curated lie dressed in perfume and practiced smiles. I needed the facts. The unfiltered version. Because guessing was torture. Doubt was a slow rot. And I was done pretending I didn't notice the cracks. Friday came, and with it, her late night. She said she had to stay at the office, something about prepping for a client pitch. She wore jeans and a blazer. But I saw it, the eyeliner. The gloss. That same perfume again. I didn't ask questions. I waited 10 minutes after she left, then grabbed my keys. No plan. Just instinct. Her agency wasn't far, 20 minutes with light traffic. I parked across the street in a row of unmarked sedans and beat-up Civics. Sat low. Engine off. Hands sweating. I felt ridiculous. Like some cheap detective in a movie with no budget and even less dignity. I kept telling myself I wasn't here to catch her. Just to confirm. Maybe she'd walk out alone. Maybe she was working late. Maybe I was the problem. But at 7:10 p.m., all my denial evaporated. She walked out the front doors. Not alone. A man trailed beside her. Tall, tailored coat, slick hair. Confident. Effortless. He had the kind of presence that filled space before he spoke. And worse, he touched her. Not in a professional way. In a possessive way. Hand on her lower back. Her head tilted toward him, laughing the way she used to laugh with me. When love was still effortless. Then they stopped near the lot. He leaned in. Said something. She smiled. Brushed a hand across his chest. And then it happened. They kissed. Not a surprise kiss. Not a misread moment. This was deliberate. Mutual. Familiar. Her hands rested gently on him like they'd done this before. When she pulled away, her eyes held his like he was the only person in her world. That look used to be mine. That's when I looked away. Not because I couldn't bear it, but because there was nothing left to see. I didn't take a picture. Didn't hit record. I didn't need evidence I could hold. I felt it. That was enough. I sat in the car another 10 minutes, letting the engine stay off, letting the silence press against my chest. I wasn't crying. Wasn't angry. I was grieving. Not her. Not the version of her that kissed strangers in office parking lots. I was grieving the man who still believed she was trying. He died somewhere between the elevator text and that kiss. I drove home with both windows cracked, letting the cold bite at my face. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't want to hear anything. When I got home, everything felt wrong. The couch. The framed photo on the bookshelf. Her throw blanket, still bunched up from that morning. All of it felt staged now. A prop in a play I didn't realize I'd been cast in. I stared at a photo of us from Big Sur 2 years ago. We were on a cliffside trail, arms wrapped around each other. Her smile was soft. Mine was clueless. That night, I slept on the couch. Not to make a point, but because our bed didn't feel like mine anymore. She came home late the next morning. Sunglasses. Coffee in hand. Wearing a lie like it was just another cardigan. "Hey," she said with a fake yawn. "Maya's couch is brutal." I didn't answer. Didn't look up. She kept talking. Something about brunch. A barista spilling oat milk. A new show Maya recommended. But none of it landed. Because I wasn't listening anymore. I had seen the truth. And there was no unseeing it. The morning after the kiss, she handed me a muffin like nothing had happened. Blueberry. My favorite. She placed it on the counter with a casual smile, like we were still the same couple we used to be. I didn't even look at it. I just walked past her calm, quiet, deliberate. "Everything okay?" she asked. I didn't answer. That was the beginning of my real exit. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just cold. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't call a lawyer. I did something worse. I stayed. And I became someone else. That's the kind of silence people don't see coming. They expect rage. They expect yelling, plates, ultimatums. What they don't expect is stillness. Distance. A man who stops needing explanations because he's already gone inside. I started with small things. I moved some money. Canceled the shared subscriptions she didn't know I paid for. Rerouted part of my paycheck to a separate account. I wasn't taking revenge. I was building an escape. Every move I made was calculated, patient, and visible. She didn't notice. Not at first. She was too busy keeping her lies in place, too confident that I was still under her thumb. Still the guy who asked questions with soft eyes and forgave with quiet hands. But I wasn't asking anymore. At night, we barely spoke. I didn't ask how her day went. I didn't initiate touch. I didn't pretend. She started noticing. She'd glance over during dinner, waiting for conversation. It didn't come. She made my coffee once. I poured it down the sink and made my own. She wore that robe I used to love, stood in the hallway like she was waiting to be invited back into a version of us that no longer existed. I walked past her. Didn't say a word. She wasn't used to being ignored. She was used to control. Used to soft power disguised as sweetness. But the moment I stopped reacting, she lost her script. I watched her shift. First came the extra smiles. The accidental touches. The too loud laughs at nothing. Like she was trying to draw attention with echoes of affection she no longer met. Then came the questions. "Are you okay? You've been distant. Is there something you're not telling me?" The irony almost made me laugh. She was the one with secrets. She was the one who kissed someone else while I was home paying the electric bill and walking the dog. But now she was panicking because I wasn't playing my role anymore. Because I was no longer hers. She didn't know what I knew. That was my power. I held it close like a blade she couldn't see, sharp, cold, and waiting. One night, she sat beside me on the couch. Closer than usual. Her thigh touched mine. She put on a movie, something we used to watch early in our relationship. Her favorite. My indifferent silence must have felt louder than any outburst. She leaned her head against my shoulder. I didn't move. I just sat there, eyes fixed on the screen, mind miles away. Eventually, she sat up and pulled the blanket tighter around herself, like the cold had just found her too. She didn't know it yet, but that was the night I stopped being her husband in every way but legal. And she was about to feel it. Every day after that, I took another piece of myself back. Not to hurt her. Not to win. But to heal. And the more I did, the more she unraveled. But she had no idea the storm was coming. Because I was the storm. And I had already started moving. She still didn't know what I'd seen. That's what made it so easy to move in silence. She thought I was just cold. Maybe going through something. She probably assumed it would pass. That I'd crawl back like I always had. She underestimated silence. Because silence is an absence. It's preparation. That week, I started gathering what I needed. Not to confront. Not to argue. But to confirm. I wasn't going to throw accusations. I was going to hold proof. It started with her phone. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. She had gotten sloppy in her confidence. Left her tablet on the counter one night. I picked it up. Unlocked it using the old passcode she hadn't changed. Synced to the same Apple ID. And there it was. An open thread. Messages that weren't in her regular inbox. A second number. No name. Just Travis, client, again. But the messages said everything. Can't stop thinking about last night. He still doesn't suspect anything. He's too distant now. It's weird. I thought I'd feel more guilty, but I don't. That one hit different. She didn't feel guilty. Not yet. But she would. I screenshotted everything. Saved it to a private folder on my own drive. Then I did what she never thought I would. I paid attention. To patterns. To times. To outfits. To makeup. To the perfume she reserved only for him. Every Thursday night was suddenly late at the office. Every third Saturday was girls' night with Maya. But Maya, it turns out, posts a lot on Instagram. And my wife wasn't in a single story. I started checking bank statements, track locations, match timestamps. Her lies were built on details, but details are where most people get lazy. I found a receipt from a boutique hotel downtown. A reservation for two. Her name on the booking. A spa package for guests. She told me she hated spas. Said they were a waste of time. Turns out, she just hated going with me. I didn't confront her. I let her keep digging the hole. I smiled when she smiled. Nodded when she talked. Let her think I was drifting, when in reality, I was watching her burn the bridge between us with every careless step. And the more I detached, the more she started unraveling. She tried to compensate. Dinner one night. Her treat. She wore the dress from our second anniversary. Set the table. Lit candles. Thought we could have a nice night, she said. I sat. Ate. Didn't comment. Didn't play the part. Just existed beside her like a stranger who'd seen too much to pretend anymore. She kept glancing at me, waiting for warmth, for recognition, for some sign that the version of me she once controlled was still there. But he was gone, and she was starting to see it. She tried another move, left a note on my nightstand one morning. I miss us. I folded it once, put it in the drawer. Never responded. It wasn't about missing us. She missed control. She missed being the center of the room. And I wasn't orbiting anymore. The final push came that weekend. She left for a wellness retreat. 3 days. Off the grid. Time to reconnect with herself. I smiled. Helped her pack. Kissed her on the forehead and wished her peace. She had no idea I'd already traced the email confirmation she forgot to delete from the shared tablet. She wasn't going to a cabin. She was going to him. I didn't follow. Didn't need to. While she was driving toward her fantasy, I was finalizing my exit. Accounts, separated. Locks, changed. Shared card, canceled. Lawyer, retained. She thought she was being clever. Careful. But the thing about being watched? You never know when it started. And by the time you realize, it's already too late. The moment she backed out of the driveway for her retreat, I stood in the doorway and watched the taillights vanish. Then I went to work. It wasn't rage. It wasn't revenge. It was math. Cold and exact. First, I changed the locks. Not because I was afraid she'd come back, but because I didn't want her walking in like nothing had happened. Like she still had access to the life she'd quietly dismantled. Then I packed up what was mine, important documents, laptop, a few clothes. I didn't need much. Just enough to leave the illusion of a life that had already ended. I left some things on purpose. Let her come home to a half-intact version of the world she once curated. Let her feel the emptiness in drawers she thought were full. Let her stand in the silence I'd lived in for months. I set the envelope on the table. Inside, printed screenshots. Photos. Texts. Bank records. Receipts. All numbered. All organized. No drama. Just truth. Her truth. The one she never thought I'd piece together. Then I walked out. I didn't block her. I didn't announce it to mutual friends. I didn't blast her name online. I just vanished from her life the way she had vanished from mine, quietly, over time, without permission. Sunday night came. I watched from my car as she pulled into the driveway. She tried her key. Didn't work. I could see the confusion shift into irritation. Then panic. She rang the bell. Knocked. Called my name. She stood there for 10 minutes, then longer. Started texting. Started calling. I didn't answer. She called Maya. Maya didn't answer either. Eventually, she sat down on the porch. Her sunglasses slipped off. Her hands clenched into fists, then relaxed, then clenched again. She looked smaller somehow, like the air around her had shifted. She knocked again. Please, Mark. Can we talk? What's going on? But she wasn't asking because she didn't know. She was asking because she'd been caught. After another 10 minutes, she stood. Looked around like she expected someone to help. No one did. She got into her car and drove off. I watched until the brake lights disappeared into the night. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel anything. That was the point. She reached out the next morning. Called twice. Left a message. We need to talk. This is insane. You're overreacting. Then came the texts. You're really doing this? You're going to throw everything away? We're still married, Mark. But she still didn't get it. I wasn't throwing anything away. She had already done that. I was just taking out the trash. The divorce papers were delivered that week. To her office. Hand-delivered. No drama. Just a clean envelope. I'm told she locked herself in the bathroom for nearly an hour after receiving them. Good. She'd spent months building a fantasy life behind my back. Now she could see what real detachment looked like. She texted again 2 nights later. Please. One conversation. That's all I'm asking. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. She made her choices. Now she could sit with them. That weekend, I moved into my new place. Smaller. Quieter. Mine. The first night I slept there, I left the windows open. The breeze was cold. The city hum outside was unfamiliar. But for the first time in over a year, I didn't feel like I was holding my breath. She thought the worst thing I could do was yell, break things, make a scene. She was wrong. The worst thing I could do was walk away without a sound. The first few days after I left, there was only static. I muted her number. I didn't block it. I wanted her to know I was seeing the messages and choosing silence anyway. At first, they came soft. Can we talk? I know you're hurt, but this isn't you. I'm sorry. I panicked. Then they shifted. This is cruel. You can't just disappear like this. I made a mistake, but you're acting like a stranger. That one made me laugh. Because a stranger was exactly what she'd become. Her words bounced against a wall I'd already built. She thought I'd rage. She thought I'd crumble. She thought I'd give her the twisted satisfaction of a dramatic scene, the kind of chaos she could blame for everything. But I gave her nothing. And that's what broke her. Maya texted me once. Just one line. She's not okay. I didn't respond. It wasn't my job to fix what she destroyed. A week passed. Then 2. She emailed me. Said she wanted to talk face-to-face, like adults. Asked if we could meet for closure. I read the email while sipping my coffee in my new apartment, feet up, sun leaking across the hardwood floors. Closure? She didn't want closure. She wanted access. To guilt. To negotiation. To the version of me who might still be holding on. But I wasn't. What I was holding on to now was peace. And she had no place in it. Then the fallout began. Travis ghosted her. It didn't take long. I knew he would. Guys like that don't build. They borrow. They steal affection from broken places and leave the pieces behind when it gets real. They lasted maybe 3 weeks. Long enough for the thrill to fade. Not long enough for her to realize he never saw a future with her. One of our mutual friends sent me a photo. Her, alone at a cafe, looking through her phone like she was waiting for a miracle to text her back. I deleted the message. I didn't need proof of her unraveling. I already knew. Guilt doesn't always look like regret. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like someone staring into the space where your love used to live and realizing it's not coming back. She sent one last message that month. Not long. No begging. I miss you. Not because you were safe, but because you were good. That one almost landed. Almost. But I'd spent too many nights wondering what I'd done wrong. Too many hours questioning if I was enough. Too much time thinking love meant being the one who stays calm while being erased. I used to think loyalty meant enduring. Now I know it means leaving when the line has been crossed. No reply. No response. Just air between us now. The kind that doesn't fill lungs anymore. She had chosen excitement over loyalty. Secrecy over honesty. A man with quick hands and no intentions over the one who stood quietly beside her for years. Let her sit with that. Let her hear her own voice echoing in empty rooms. Because that's what betrayal leaves behind, not drama. Silence. And silence is louder when no one's coming back. It happened on a Thursday. I'd just come back from the gym, sweat still clinging to my skin, mind clear in the way it only gets when the body's been emptied first. There was a knock at the door. 3 soft taps. A pause. Then one more. I knew before I looked. Something in the air had shifted. That particular tension of someone rehearsing what they'll say while hoping to be invited in. I opened it. She stood there, coat too thin for the weather, hair pulled back like she wanted to seem composed, even if the edges were fraying. She didn't smile. Just looked up at me like she was trying to recognize the man who used to melt at the sound of her voice. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. Not out of kindness. Out of curiosity. I wanted to see what version of herself she'd bring this time. She walked in like a guest. I scanning the apartment, noting the clean lines, the minimal furniture, the absence of shared memories. Nice place, she said. I didn't answer. She sat on the edge of the couch like it might reject her if she leaned too far back. Her hands stayed clasped in her lap. Her nails were shorter now, unpolished. She looked tired, smaller, like the weight of her own choices had finally settled into her spine. I'm not here to fight, she said. I nodded. I know I don't have the right to ask anything, she continued, but I needed to see you. She paused like she expected me to fill the silence. I didn't. I messed everything up, she said. And I'm not asking you to forgive me. I didn't think it would feel this final. There it was. That soft edge. The beginning of a plea. But it wasn't for forgiveness. It was for permission to still mean something. You were always so steady, she said. Even when I didn't deserve it. She looked around again. I thought I'd find you angry. But this is worse. I didn't disagree. Because indifference is colder than rage. And I was cold. I don't hate you, she added. I just got lost. I thought I was missing something. But it turns out I already had it. And I ruined it. She finally looked me in the eyes. Do you miss me? I could have lied. Could have softened it. Could have said something half-true to make the moment easier. But I owed her nothing. No, I said. She blinked. That hit harder than any slammed door ever could have. She looked down. Took a slow breath. There's no way back, is there? I shook my head. The version of me you want doesn't exist anymore. She swallowed hard. Her lip trembled. But she didn't cry. Not yet. She stood up slowly. I should go. I didn't stop her. She walked to the door. Rested her hand on the knob. Paused. For what it's worth. I hope you find someone who doesn't make you question yourself. I already did, I said. Me. She closed her eyes for half a second. Then she opened the door. Goodbye, Mark. I didn't say it back. She stepped into the hallway. The door closed behind her with a soft click. And just like that, the chapter ended. Not with fire. Not with fury. But with a silence so complete, it echoed. After she walked out of my apartment that night, I waited for the grief to come. It didn't. Not because I didn't love her once. Not because it didn't hurt. But because somewhere along the line, the part of me that ached for her had been replaced by something quieter. Something freer. I stopped checking my phone. I stopped wondering what she was doing. I stopped replaying the moments where I thought I could have saved us. There was nothing left to save. Instead, I poured myself into the things I had abandoned, my health, my craft, my mind. I started running again. Not to escape, but to reclaim space in my own body. I reached out to old friends, people I had let fade while trying to hold together a relationship that had already dissolved under my feet. I slept deeper, ate better, spoke less. There was a peace and solitude that no apology could replicate. 2 weeks after she visited, I ran into someone from our old circle at the grocery store. Jason, casual friend. The kind who knows just enough to ask the wrong questions. Hey, man. Heard you, and Claire split. Sorry to hear that. I nodded, grabbed my coffee, and moved on. She's not doing too well, you know, he added. Word is she lost her job. Travis dumped her too. Just disappeared. I didn't ask for details. That was her storm to weather. I had no desire to stand in the rain with her. But later that night, I got the final message. An email. Not from her main address. A backup one I forgot even existed. It wasn't long. I know I broke something I'll never be able to rebuild. I just needed to say that. You were good. You were steady. You were mine, and I didn't know what that meant until I lost it. You don't have to respond. I just wanted you to know I see it now. No attachments. No photo. No ask. Just a slow confession sent into the void. I stared at the screen for a while, and then I deleted it. Not out of bitterness, but because closure isn't something you get from someone else. It's something you give yourself, when you stop letting them take pieces of you. She used to be the first person I thought of in the morning. Now, I didn't even notice her absence. That was the shift. Not the moment she cheated. Not the confrontation. Not even the divorce. But the moment I stopped missing her, and didn't feel guilty about it. I looked around my apartment that evening. The lamp I picked. The playlist I created. The couch that no longer had a blanket smelling like her perfume. Everything in that space was mine. And I liked it that way. I didn't need noise anymore. Not her voice. Not her excuses. Not her nostalgia. She once said I'd get intimacy when she felt like giving it. And now? Now she gets silence. Not as punishment, but as proof that I finally chose me. And I'm not giving that up for anyone ever again. 3 months passed. The text stopped. The emails stopped. The noise stopped. I hadn't blocked her. I hadn't needed to. She had finally understood. My silence wasn't temporary. It was a verdict. Then one afternoon, I saw her again. I was picking up coffee. Just another Tuesday. The barista knew my name by now. Light roast. No sugar. A quiet routine I'd grown to enjoy. I turned around, and there she was. Hair different. No makeup. Wearing an oversized sweater and holding a cup she hadn't touched. Her eyes caught mine before she could pretend they hadn't. She froze. I didn't. I nodded once, like you do with an old neighbor or a face from school you barely remember. Then I turned back to the counter. She stepped forward. "You look good," she said, hesitating. I smiled. Not politely. Not cruelly. Just enough to let her know I heard it and didn't need it. "I feel good," I replied. And I meant it. She searched my face like she was looking for a crack. A doorway back into a version of us she could still rewrite. But there was nothing left to find. The man she used to manipulate, soften, guilt, beg, seduce, he wasn't there. She cleared her throat. "I still think about that night." "I didn't ask which one." "About the way you looked at me when I walked out." I sipped my coffee. "I wasn't ready to lose you," she said. That made me pause. Not because it hurt, but because it confirmed everything I already knew. She never thought I'd leave. She thought I'd stay through the lies, the silence, the betrayal. She thought I'd keep orbiting her world, no matter how many times she pushed me to the edge. I set my cup down. "You didn't lose me that night," I said. "You lost me long before that. You just didn't notice." Her eyes glossed over, but she didn't cry. She knew it wouldn't matter if she did. She reached for my hand once. Reflex, not strategy. I didn't move. She dropped hers. "I hope you're happy." "I am." And that was the truth. Not a performance. Not a victory lap. Just peace. Real, earned peace. She took a step back. Looked down at her untouched drink. "Take care, Mark." I nodded. And then I watched her walk out the door, this time for good. There was no music swelling. No dramatic exit. Just a woman stepping into the world she built with her choices. And a man who finally chose to close the door behind her. Not to hurt her, but to protect himself. Because the most powerful thing I've learned? You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to break things to let someone know they've lost you. You just need to walk away. And never look back. Drop it in the comments. Hit subscribe. This is where we talk about what doesn't get forgiven.